Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about Are You Afraid of the Dark? Season 3, Episode 11. This episode came out in 1994. My God, that's a long time. Like a real long time. And this is a really good episode, in my opinion, that still holds up till today. Now, I've said before, I've never really been a fan of the original series, only because I did not grow up with it. I grew up with Goosebumps and stuff. And so as an adult trying to watch it, there are some episodes I like and some I don't. And the ones that I don't like, I don't hate. It's just there's always something in the episode that kind of throws me off. Either the acting or the story gets interesting but falls flat. Now, one cool thing about Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps is that a lot of the cast members from Goosebumps transition on over to Are You Afraid of the Dark. Not all, but a good number of them did. And not only did they transition to that, but they also went on over to the Shirley Holmes show and the Magic School Bus. You know, it's cool. I've been watching this podcast about Goosebumps. I believe they're called the Goosebumps Crew. And they've had a lot of former Goosebumps stars on the show. And I love hearing the stories of how the adults now, back when they was kids and they'll go for auditions and stuff, they will always see the same recurring kids audition for stuff, and a lot of them were friends, and so they were just having a good time. That's always great to hear. It's always sad to hear an audition story where somebody's all like, every audition I go to, everybody looks just like me, or they want me to put on a fake accent. Those are the sad stories to hear, but I love hearing these stories, you know. And this is actually my first time watching this episode. It's called Tales of the Quicksilver. I think I said that. If I didn't, now I did. It's my first time watching this one because I tried to watch this series back in the day when I had Paramount Plus, but then I gave up on it. I just couldn't get into a lot of episodes. But normally I'll try to watch the episodes that had a star in there that I like. And most of the time, I still don't like those episodes. Like the Melissa Joan Hart one, the Nev Campbell one, I just don't like those. But the Shannon Duff one I like. And I like this one by special guest star Tatiana Ali from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Boy, I used to be a fan of hers back in the day. I used to have a crush and everything. It sucks that her career didn't blossom as big as, say, Will's. Will's acting career is really the only one from that show that took off in a huge, huge way. Now, Tatiana still acts. It's just she acts in projects I've never heard of. And she's mostly been relegated to Lifetime and stuff. And I remember she was in the movie Jawbreaker. And at first I didn't even know it was her. And it's basically the tiniest cameo role ever. And I'm just like, really? You couldn't have her in your movie full time or half time? I mean, she came from one of the most popular sitcoms of all time. But that's what happens when you look different and stuff, you know? And it just sucks. And she did a really phenomenal job acting in this. She had two completely different roles, because she played twins and stuff. I hate when Hollywood lets talent go away. But I was also surprised to find out that, what's his name? Something, Stuart Stone. I was shocked and surprised to find out the voice of Ralphie is in this episode from the Magic School Bus. And Stewart was also in the Goosebumps episode, The Phantom of the Auditorium. That's one of the first Goosebumps books I've ever owned. So that's cool that he played Brian in that. This episode caught my attention and like it kept me like wondering what's going to happen. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't like this show that much is that the stories feel kind of rushed towards the third act. But this third act was like really good and stuff. And this episode was slightly confusing only because of the opening of the story. So Kiki is the one telling the story, and it's about the Quicksilver. And whenever I heard the name Quicksilver, I thought of the mutant from like X-Men. And I'm just like, why is this thing called a Quicksilver? But anyway, so she's telling the story, and we see Tatiana Ali's character. And we don't really know her name yet. I believe her name is Laura. And so, like, we see her summoning some type of spirit. And she has candles everywhere. She has this giant, like, crystal rock and stuff. And she has, like, a wand with, like, a spoon attached to it. And the way she's dressed in her nightgown, I assume this was like 1500s, 1600s. It reminded me of that one Goosebump episode where it's like a little boy and he's looking for a ghost. He gets beheaded and like they're at this like tower and this girl loves to like prank people and stuff. Her nightgown looked very reminiscent of like the old school nightgowns. But no, it's actually somewhat present day, at least like a year or two ago. And so as we see her summoning this spirit, this ghost comes from like, well, she draws like a square with chalk on the wall. And then all of a sudden a ghost comes from like the wall. And it's pretty cool and creepy, you know what I'm saying? And spooky and stuff. And the ghost looks phenomenal and everything. At the time, the ghost was called like some type of like zombie or something. But like it looks really cool, and she's scared. She's trying to do her incantation, but it's not working for whatever reason. And she accidentally knocks over the candles, and then all of a sudden, like she's gone. And so it's presumed that she died in like a fire. Now, I automatically assume she might be like a witch or something like that, or some type of sorceress, or just like something. And so, about a year or two, a new family moves into the house, and there are two brothers who share the same room. And one of the brothers is named Aaron, and the other one is named Doug. Doug is played by Stuart Stone, but Aaron is played by Cal Alisaran. And what's interesting about him is that he is the brother of Jason Alyssa Rand, who plays Frank, one of the Midnight Society people. So that's cool. His brother gets to be like, in the same episode and, or, gets to appear in the show. And so when the brothers move in and stuff, like they notice some ghostly activity, but the ghosts are kind of weird. They kind of contradict each other, almost like there's two. And so when Aaron goes to school, he meets a girl named Connie. And so I forget which sister is which because Tatiana Ali plays like two different characters. But anyway, she plays the one that's alive, the twin that's like alive. And her and Aaron are like sweet on each other and stuff as he's the new kid in school. But all of a sudden Doug starts to like get kind of sick. The ghostly activities are happening more and more in the house, and it's freaking the boys out. Then all of a sudden, Aaron starts to have flashes of somebody else's life, and he starts to see the girl at school played by Tatiana Ali. And from the girl from like the beginning of the episode doing like the spell or whatever, and it leads him to like a compartment in like the wall where there's like a yearbook. And so the yearbook is kind of singed, kind of burnt, and he sees like the girl from his school, but also there's another girl next to him, next to her, and it's kind of like ripped out or burnt out. And so when he confronts her about this, he asks, did you ever have like a twin sister or something like that? And she wants to know, like, how does he know that? So at first she thinks he's just pulling like a cruel like prank on her. But then she tells the story of how her sister lost her life in a fire. Her sister became very, very ill, and medicine would not work. The doctors could not help her. She believed that it was some kind of ghost affecting her, but nobody would believe her. So she found like a spell book and did this spell, but the spell did not work, and she knocked over the candles, dying in the fire. And so, like, as soon as I heard this, the girl was sick and everything. I'm like, oh no, Doug, the ghost must be after him and everything. And so, like, they race back, like, to the home to help Doug, and he's really sick. And then all of a sudden, the ghost, like, appears, and I think it takes, like, Doug. Anyways, this ghost can appear at will, but it also can be summoned. So Aaron, I think, assumes that like the ghost of Tatiana Ali's character's sister is trying to help and stuff. So they redo like the spell. And as they're redoing it, it's not working for whatever reason. And so you're like, crap, dude, they're about to get it. You know what I'm saying? Like the same thing that happened to the sister is gonna happen to them. But then Aaron realizes that the wand did not have like silver attached to it. It had like a metal steel spoon. So he takes off his necklace that's made of silver and puts it on the wand, and now the spell works. Doug is restored back and is healthy, and either Laura or Connie, whichever twin that is now able to, her soul is able to transcend and like rest in peace now. And that was just like a really, really cool story. It's one of those things that I wish that the episode could have been like longer, you know what I'm saying? Like, or at least like, multiple episodes. But that's the problem I've always had with this show. They're very quick stories. And they also have to get, a couple of scenes in the Midnight Society people and stuff. And it was really good to see Tatiana Ali acting like a different role in a different show. Like I said before, I wish she would have like another breakout role, but Hollywood just doesn't want to like hire her. So that's the curse of being on a sitcom that's like really popular. Once you do it, that's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? Hollywood just doesn't cast you for anything else. And so because Aaron did the spell correctly and stuff, the ghost demonic little zombie thing, like it went inside the rock crystal amulet. And like I think the backstory to the ghost demon thing was that after it died, got buried or whatever in the cemetery, they built a house over like the cemetery, and I guess the room in which the boys shared that one of the twins used to live in was underneath, like or built over the cemetery and stuff. Now, as for the Quicksilver ghost, that was one of the twins that had died. I still don't know why they call her the Quicksilver, but she was the one, like, 'cause, the evil ghost is trying to make, like, kids sick and all this other stuff, and so she would try to, like, counter all that. This is why episodes gotta be a little bit longer so they can explain just a little bit more detail and stuff. That wasn't that spooky. Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.